From being banned for cheating to winning a Call of Duty World Championship, this is the story of Dylan Envoy Hannon. At a young age, Envoy loved playing Call of Duty with his friends as many do, but he soon realised he was a lot better than them and was hungry for some competition, so he began entering online tournaments back in 2014, eager to test his skills against the very best. 1 year later, Envoy started attending open events in the Advanced Warfare season when he was only 15 years of age. With fellow underage prospects like Kenny, it was clear the whole team was stars in the making, finishing top 6 at the final tournament of the season. This was a sign of things to come going into next year, but Envoy's dreams were shattered when Activision announced that every single tournament with the inception of the CWL would now have an age restriction of 18 years of age. This forced Envoy into a temporary retirement, and he was no longer allowed to attend pro events for another 3 years. But Envoy didn't just give up there. Many of his peers went back to Halo or other games, but he continued to prove his worth in online tournaments. However, he would make a mistake that he still regrets to this day. While playing in a UMG gaming wager match, Envoy decided to plug in a keyboard and mouse strictly against the rules. This is known as keyboarding to many in the community and is strongly frowned upon as it can confer a significant advantage over regular controller players. He was banned for this not just once, but multiple times, and garnered a bad reputation within the community as a result. Everyone became aware of his antics and his reputation was tarnished. They hated him for cheating and were confident that if he was to turn up on LAN, he would be exposed. But when Envoy finally turned 18, it was time for him to compete at the pro level again. The only problem, however, nobody wanted to team with him, but Envoy hoped this would be a chance to prove the doubters wrong and show that he was only using that keyboard for fun, and he could definitely make it work with a controller. Unfortunately, he was faced with the harsh reality that he had a long way to go to make it as a professional. In the 2 events he attended in 2018, Envoy could only place top 80, yes, top 80, and top 48, before calling it quits for the rest of the year. 2018 was a big wake-up call for Envoy. He knew he was not good enough as it stood to hang with the best, and needed to put in more time and effort if he wanted to accomplish his dreams. Hoping to wipe the slate clean and start fresh in Black Ops 4, Envoy didn't get the start that he hoped for, placing top 40 at the first tournament in Vegas. And to make things worse, his team at the time, Midnight Esports, were drawn into a tough pool with 100 Thieves and Team Space at the Pro League qualifier. But in a shocking turn of events, Midnight Esports went flawless in their group, destroying professional teams to qualify for the CWL Pro League. Envoy pulled off the #1 KD ratio at the event, immediately putting himself on the map. To this day, this is one of the biggest underdog stories we have ever seen in COD. Midnight also got off to a strong start in the Pro League, winning 5 of their first 7 matches. They were early candidates for winning the next event in Fort Worth, but their momentum was soon derailed as Envoy and the rest of his teammates departed from the organisation due to various contract issues and dramas. But Envoy was one of the best players at the time, hands down, and it didn't take long for him to receive an offer from a top team in Gen G, where he helped the team make 2 grand finals. As the regular season concluded, Envoy's performance earned him a selection to the All-Star Game, an incredible achievement for a player in his rookie season. Next up was the World Championship, the biggest event in Envoy's career up till this point. However, this would instead be the most heartbreaking moment in his career. Gen G, shockingly, failed to beat a single team in their group and finished the tournament in last place, top 32. From starting the season with a Cinderella story to finishing with heartbreak, the 2019 season was a rollercoaster ride. But regardless of how it ended, it was very clear the future was bright for Envoy. As competitive Call of Duty transitioned into a franchise league, Envoy's performance in Black Ops 4 did not go unnoticed. He received a massive offer to play with the likes of Scump and Formel on the newly formed Chicago Huntsmen. As Envoy prepared himself to play for the most popular team in the league, he knew there was more pressure on him to succeed. This was a big opportunity, and Envoy grabbed it with both hands, putting in elite performances week in, week out with the SMG in hand. Comparisons with the King himself were starting to be drawn by the fans, and Envoy was nominated for regular season MVP. He also received the S&D Player of the Season award, and nothing demonstrates this better than this iconic match against the Minnesota Rocker, where Envoy carried Huntsman on his back to complete a 5-0 comeback, finishing the game with a ninja defuse.
You've been a hero throughout the entire game. He's on the bomb. The defuse. Minnesota Rocker. You're gonna check it. Full sale happens again from 5-0 down.
As the championship weekend arrived, Envoy rose to the occasion to ensure there was not a repeat of 2019. Against Optic Gaming Los Angeles in losers, he clutched the all-important 1v1 in Game 5, Round 11 to secure top 3.
Reload. No one can finish the kill. Arcees picks up 2. It's all going to be on TJ now. 1v1, and Huntsman win it. Envoy gets the kill in the 1v1.
This single kill may have changed the trajectory of Call of Duty in the future, with Optic Gaming Los Angeles owners Immortals deciding to sell the spot after this top 6 placement, meaning Hex could acquire it again with Optic Chicago, and the Los Angeles Thieves were able to enter the league. If Envoy loses that 1v1 and Optic Gaming Los Angeles go further, none of that may ever have happened. Unfortunately for Huntsman, they could not overcome FaZe in the next rounds, but a 3rd place finish was respectable considering this was only his 2nd ever World Championship. But another curveball was thrown Envoy's way in the offseason, as the CDL decided competitive would be returning to 4 versus 4 action. But as Envoy awaited the news on who would be dropped from his team, the news broke out that Huntsman would be rebranding as mentioned to Optic Chicago. And once again, Envoy was selected by Scump & Co to play for the team. It was becoming increasingly evident that Envoy was being groomed to take his place once Scump retired. As Envoy continued to impress, the fans, Hex among them, began to refer to him as the Prince, a fitting nickname that reflected his promising future in the CDL. Expectations were sky high as Envoy looked to firmly establish himself as an MVP level player. Unfortunately for Optic though, it was a season to forget, as they failed to make a single grand final all season. The closest they came was at Major 5, where they were on the verge of making the finals, but Toronto Ultra shut down those dreams like they did all season long. Envoy was named an all-star player for the 2021 season, but this still wasn't enough to silence the doubts around him, as he dealt with questions around his playstyle. At Major 2, he was blamed for throwing his life away as accuracy clutched to 1 versus 3 on the rest of his teammates, and there were many questions raised by TJ and Kenny of Los Angeles Thieves that Envoy's flanking playstyle was becoming far too predictable and was exposing the rest of his team. Envoy was usually the scapegoat for the roster, and it seemed only a matter of time before they dropped him. Optic were not sold on his ability to keep up with other superstar SMGs, and with the Texas merger happening, decided to move forward with Shotzi instead. But that was when Nadeshot and the Los Angeles Thieves got on the phone, and he immediately jumped for the opportunity. This was his chance to show everyone that Optic should not have dropped him, and that he was still one of the best SMGs in the league. At the preseason tournament, the Kickoff Classic, Envoy scored revenge, taking out Optic 3-1. And while many Optic fans were still firmly in support of Envoy, the nickname The Dark Prince began to emerge, recognizing Envoy's role as the villain against his former team. But the first 2 majors were extremely tough for the Thieves. They placed top 6 and top 8 respectively, a massive underachievement for the level this roster was expected to reach. A roster change seemed inevitable, but the team surprisingly rode out the storm, making a role change with Kenny and Draza and bringing in another coach. The decision paid dividends, as they placed 2nd at the very next tournament. As the team continued to put in more effort, they finally delivered for the franchise, winning Nadeshot Los Angeles Thieves' first ever major in New York at Major 4. And LA Thieves were therefore favourites going into the World Championship. And Envoy rose to the occasion in the Grand Finals with this play on map 4.
Stop the clock for a moment, but immediately that met by Envoy as Dylan Adden has picked up 3 in a row, looking to take care of the entire squad, and he's done it. That's an incredible opener.
Have a bad opening break, and well, here they are.
Whoa!
Picks aboard.
No way.
Envoy was officially a world champion. From placing dead last in 2019 to a roller coaster ride over the next couple of years to winning it all just 3 years later. An absolute dream come true. But LA Thieves did not get complacent and their momentum continued into the 2023 season. They made the grand final of the 2nd major, but fell short of fierce rivals Atlanta FaZe. But as they put more and more time into learning the game, they were once again candidates to win a major. And at Major 4, they got revenge on FaZe on their way to securing their 3rd major as a team. Envoy was now a 5-time champion. Over the course of his career, Envoy faced both triumphs and tribulations on his path to becoming a world champion. While he did face setbacks along the way, he remained committed to his craft and ultimately became one of the best and most respected players in the Call of Duty community, setting the stage for a long and successful career to come.